So welcome to Organic One Lab. You can see this is the syllabus. I will send this to you as soon as I finish here. This is my email, kakos046@fiu.edu. So the text you will need for this class is Organic Chemistry Laboratory Manual. I hear that some people have a PDF of this. I would definitely ask your friends, the group chat, where we can, if they have the PDF. If not, this is what the text looks like, and you could get it in the bookstore. Now, here we have the schedule. We will meet a total of 12 times, and we have, I believe, 10 different experiments. We also have a calendar of everything that occurs, holidays, different weeks, standard stuff. Grading scheme. So the grading will be as follows. Your pre-labs will account for 5% of your grade. Your quizzes will account for 25%. The lab reports will account for 35%, and the final exam will account for another 35%. So the pre-labs, they consist of a written introduction, a purpose, procedure, and a table of physical constants. If you've taken the general chem labs here at FIU, you know about pre-labs, but if not, I'm gonna cover it, so don't worry about it. The quizzes are going to start on the second meeting forward. We're gonna do it the first 10 minutes of class, and they will be typically between 3 and 4 questions, and they will contain a mix between what's going to be on the pre-lab for that session and what we did in the previous session. The first quiz that I'm going to give, which is next class, there's going to be a lot of questions from the syllabus on there, specifically so you guys read the syllabus. So study up on the syllabus. And since the quizzes are 25% of your grade, it's important to do well on them. The lab reports, they will be graded on a scale of 0 to 20. I will cover what should be on the lab reports. And it's very important to note that for every day it is late, the lab report, there's going to be a 20% penalty off the grade. The final exam, it's going to be comprehensive. It's going to cover everything we've done in all the labs. It's going to be a combination of multiple choice, short answers, calculations, mechanisms, reactions, all that good stuff. And there will be no makeup for the final exam. So if you miss 3 labs or lab reports, you automatically fail the class. There are exceptions for the lab reports. So if you can't make class for some reason and you have a valid excuse, not I ran late, not I was on vacation, but I had a doctor's appointment or jury duty, stuff like that. So if you have missed a lab and you have a valid excuse, email me and I'll work with you. The honor code. It's prohibited to plagiarize, to copy work from classmates, cheating on exams, etc. Just don't do it. If I catch you, I will report you to the department. And neither of us want to do that. If you have any disabilities, you could go through the Office of Disability Services and send your documentation to Dr. Chakraborty within the first week of class. Again, I will send you the syllabus, so you don't have to worry about copying all this down. Suggestions for success. Come prepared to lab. So come with your pre-lab, read the procedures, know what you're doing. Don't miss a lab, self-explanatory. Keep a good lab notebook. Since we're doing things virtually, the lab notebooks aren't going to be much of a thing. So on and so forth. videos and procedures on submitting the lab report. We will cover this in depth, but pretty much what's going to happen for this class is we're doing it virtually because of COVID. So you'll watch a video, and in the video, they'll give you data, and you'll use that data and the video to write your lab report. Now let me just. Okay, like I said, Organic One Lab, section 10. This is my contact information. Since we're recording this, you could just go back and see this, but I will not send you these slides. So changes due to COVID. Like I said, this semester will be done virtually. For each lab session, you're gonna watch a video. The video is gonna demonstrate the techniques and objectives of the experiment. They're gonna give you data. Use that data to write your lab report. And now this is the most important part of the slide. The attendance in these labs is mandatory. This is not an online course. This is a remote learning course. You have to come to class. If you don't come to class, you can't write the lab report. I will not accept it. So come to class. So writing the lab report. The pre-lab consists of the name and date of the experiment, the purpose, the introduction, the procedure, and the table of physical constants. Now the name, yes.
We can't see the slides that you're talking about. We only see the first slide.
Really? Okay. What about if I do this? Does this work?
Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll just do it like this. So contact info, changes due to COVID-19. All right, so writing the report. These first 5 in blue consist of the pre-lab. So name and date of the experiment, that's self-explanatory. The purpose of the experiment, this should be a short 1 or 2 sentence, and it should just say, like, if we're trying to separate 2 liquids, the purpose is to separate 2 liquids, or if we're trying to determine the identity of a compound, you know, the purpose is to determine the identity, but don't write like a paragraph or several paragraphs of the purpose. It should be very short. The introduction is just the background information of the experiment. So the lab manual has a lot of background information for the experiment, so you don't copy it, obviously, rewrite it in your own words. You could find outside sources on the internet, textbooks, just some relevant background information. The procedures. So in the lab manual, the procedures is given out in paragraph form, but you need to write them in either bullet points or numbered, just a numbered list or a bulleted list of each step that you need to follow to do the experiment. And finally, the table of physical constants is just a table. So what you're going to do is you're going to go through the lab manual for that experiment. You're going to find all the compounds that you use, and you're going to write them down. And what you have to do is you find all the constants. So, well, not all of them, a few of them: melting point, boiling point, density, solubility, so on and so forth. I'm going to cover this in the next slide. Data and results. This is where you collect your data and results. Your calculations go here. The discussion is where you write about your results. Are they what you expected? Did you get a good yield, a bad yield, so on and so forth. Good results, bad results. Then the next section after that is your references. This should be done in ACS style. If you don't know how to do ACS style references, you could just Google it. And finally, you're going to see in the lab manual that there's going to be questions at the end of the chapter, or sometimes in the middle. These questions, just tack it on to the back of the report. Now, this first part in blue is called the pre-lab. The pre-lab is due at the beginning of every lab session. So next lab, the pre-lab that's going to be due, I believe, is for distillation. And in order to get into the class, you need to have the pre-lab done. So do it before you come to class. Now, the table of physical constants, this is what it looks like. You have the name of the compound, its formula, the molecular weight, the density, the melting point, the boiling point, the solubility. You do this for every compound that you're going to be using during that experiment.
How are we going to turn in the pre-lab?
The pre-lab, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let people into the class one by one. And when I let you in, I'm going to have you share your screen, or you could show me through the camera. And I just want to see that you have your pre-lab done. And then if you have it done, I'll let you in. And if not, you can't come to class for that day.
Okay. Also, there's nothing on Canvas yet. Is that going to be changed?
Yeah, I'm having trouble with that. I'm going to get that fixed by the end of this week, so don't worry about it. But we will be doing the quizzes through Canvas, most of the things through Canvas. But I just don't have it set up at the moment, having technical difficulties. So for the table of physical constants, the way you could get this data, one of the ways, you could also just look it up on Wikipedia, but if Wikipedia doesn't have it, you could go to the HTBK Chemistry and Physics Handbook, which you can see here in the screenshot. I'll take you to this page. You could search for the compound. Once you search for the compound, you click physical constants of organic compounds, and it'll come up. The compound will come up, and it'll have all this information on there. So it's pretty simple. So what's due? At the beginning of each lab, you need to have your pre-lab for the lab we're doing that day. But you also need to turn in the full lab report for what we did the previous session. And you cannot, like I said before, you cannot do the class unless you have done the pre-lab. So the grading, again, we went over this in the syllabus, but 5% comes from the pre-labs, 25% comes from the quizzes, 3 or 4 questions, 35% from the lab reports, and 35% from the final, which is going to be around 15 questions, maybe a little bit more, we'll see, but not too far off from 15. And it's comprehensive, so covers everything. Important points, read the syllabus carefully. That's pretty important. To be let in, you need a pre-lab again. Must wear shirt, long pants. This is for actual lab. Unfortunately, due to COVID, we're not going to be doing actual labs for the most part. Lab reports must be turned in to me during the first 5 minutes of the lab session. Remember, if it is late, it's going to be 20% off the grade for each day it is late. Weekly quizzes, the first 10 minutes. So the makeup policy, we covered it already. But there's only 2 allowed for the whole semester. And you need to have a valid excuse. And you need to have proof. So it could be like a doctor's appointment, athletic meeting, religious reasons, car accident. So if you miss a lab and you have a valid excuse, just email me. So for today's lab, we'll be exploring physical constants, the first one being melting point. So the melting point is when the compound transitions from a solid to a liquid. Now, in the video you're going to watch, he's going to explain that this happens in a range, and compounds do melt at a specific temperature, but because this apparatus doesn't have perfect heat transfer, it's going to happen in a range. So you could have a compound, and in actuality, it melts at 122 degrees Celsius. But if you use this apparatus, it'll melt between 120 and 124 degrees Celsius, for example. So you begin recording the range when you start to see the compound melt, and you stop when the compound completely melts. So you see the compound starts melting at 120, you write that down, that's your lower range, and then you see the compound completely melts at 123, that's your upper range. Why is this important? Well, melting point can be used to identify an unknown compound. You can't only use melting point, but it's one piece of evidence. And more importantly, to me at least, you can use melting point to determine the purity of a compound. Now, when you have an impure compound, when it's a mixture, and a solid mixture, the melting point is actually lower. So if you know your pure compound melts at 150 degrees Celsius, and you synthesize it, and you test the melting point, and you find that it's 145 degrees Celsius is when it melts, you know that it has impurities in it. So I think that's pretty interesting. We'll also be doing boiling point. And boiling point is when your compound transitions from its liquid phase to its gaseous phase. The boiling point depends on the vapor pressure of the compound. And the vapor pressure is a function of temperature. So as the temperature increases, so does the vapor pressure of that compound. And boiling occurs when the vapor pressure of the liquid is equal to the external pressure. And what's the external pressure? If you're just boiling something in the lab, it's just the pressure of the atmosphere. So any compound that's boiling, its vapor pressure at that moment is just equal to 1 atmosphere. So here we have the apparatus. This is called the micro boiling point apparatus. And what's going to happen is, this is a close-up of what's inside. It's a tube, and it's filled with oil, and you have a thermometer strapped to a tiny vial filled with the compound that you're trying to measure the boiling point of. This is the close-up of that. You see the thermometer and the tiny vial, and inverted in the vial is a capillary tube. So what's going to happen is you're going to heat the oil gently, and the vapor pressure of your compound is going to increase, and it's going to fill the capillary tube with the vapors of the compound that you're trying to find the boiling point of. So once the capillary tube is filled with vapor, you're going to let it cool down. And what's going to happen is, as the vapor pressure decreases of that vapor in the capillary tube, it's going to get to the point where the external pressure of the atmosphere is going to push liquid inside of the capillary tube. So right when you see that the liquid starts to go inside the capillary tube, you record the temperature, and that is the boiling point of that substance. This will also be explained in the video, but I wanted to give you guys a heads up of what's going on. Solubility, just remember that solubility, this is a review, but the solubility of a compound in a solvent is temperature dependent. Polarity of a compound can be determined by what solvents it dissolves in. Remember that like dissolves like, so polar solvents dissolve in, I got this backwards, sorry. Polar compounds dissolve in polar solvents, and nonpolar compounds dissolve in nonpolar solvents. So for next session, complete the lab report for melting point, boiling point, and solubility, and have your pre-lab for distillation. And the last thing, optional in-person labs. So this lab specifically is a flex lab. So even though this is remote learning, we will have an option to get hands-on experience. We will have a total of 2 experiments that will be performed in person, one on week 5 and the other on week 10. So if you're interested in that, just send me an email. And you don't have to show up if you sign up for both of them. You don't have to sign up for both of them. You could sign up for one, show up for one or the other, or you could show up for none. It doesn't matter. And just, I can't stress this enough, but signing up or not signing up for these optional labs will not impact your grade at all, period. So don't think like you're gonna get any extra credit for this. This is just for you and you alone. It's not going to impact your grade. Does anyone have any questions?
Yes, I have a question. So I already know, like, now that there is a lab an end of February that I will probably not be able to attend because I'll be out of town. I have like a work thing that it's been planned like months ago. Do you do like drop lower grades, or like when are the days available to make up in case I wanted to, or I don't even know if that's a valid reason to make up, but what could be a solution for that?
I don't drop any grades. It's not really up to me to drop the grade. It's up to the department, and they don't drop any grades. I don't believe it's a proper excuse. You could email me and we'll talk about it, and we could see if we could figure something out. That's the best answer I can give you right now.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah. Did you get any DRC emails? Because I already sent them last week, all of my class schedules, but I don't think I saw the confirmation emails about my labs.
No, I actually did not get an email. I will message Dr. Chakraborty. What's your name?
Bruna?
Okay, Bruna. Write that down. I will message him specifically and ask about you.
Thanks.
No problem. Does anyone else have any other questions?
I do. Do our pre-labs and entire lab reports have to be typed, or is handwritten okay?
Typed. Please type them. And so what's going to happen is I'm going to have somewhere on Canvas where you could turn it in. Obviously, it's not set up right now, but yes, type the pre-labs and the lab reports as well.
Okay, thank you.
Great question. Anyone else?
Will you have a rubric on Canvas of like the lab reports, like how long each section should be and what we should include?
Yes, great question. I'm actually going to send out a sample lab report today, so you guys can see more or less how it looks, how much you should write, so on and so forth.
Okay,
And I'll
thank
also
you.
be, when Canvas gets off the ground, I will be putting it on Canvas. No problem.
Okay, that was kind of my next question. Are you gonna be posting the syllabus and this PowerPoint on Canvas or sending it to us today?
So right now, once we finish here, I'm going to be sending the syllabus to you guys, and I'm also going to be sending the videos that you have to watch in order to do this lab report.
Okay, cool. And the lab report's gonna be due next week?
Session, yeah, next week, Monday,
Gotcha.
along with the P-Lab for distillation.
All right, no problem. Appreciate it.
So is the lab report due like Mondays at 11:59 or Mondays right before class?
It's due on that day, but you could turn it in right before class or the first 5 minutes of class.
Okay.
So how is the class gonna be?
How is the class going to be conducted?
Yeah.
So what's going to happen is next session, we're going to start. I'm going to look at everyone's pre-lab. And if you have the pre-lab, I'm going to let everyone in. First 10 minutes, we will do the quiz. And once we do the quiz, I will talk a little bit about the experiment. And then I'll send you the videos that you need to watch. And that's it. Unfortunately, because of COVID, this is how we have to do things. But it's, the best we could do, trying to keep everyone safe.
So on average, classes like would not last the usual amount
Super
of
short, maybe anywhere between 15 and 30 minutes, probably average around 20 minutes.
So we're watching these videos on our own time.
Yes, exactly.
So this happened for last lab as well for general Chem 2, but or at least for my TA, he would stay on the Zoom because if anyone wanted to do the lab during the lab class, he would stay there for if anyone had any questions. Are you gonna do the same, or if we have any questions, we should just email you?
I prefer that you email me, but if it gets to the point where a lot of people are having a lot of questions, I will start staying so you could ask me questions.
For the pre-labs, you said we're going to show them in the beginning of classes, but do we also turn them in on Canvas?
No, I don't think it's necessary to turn them in. I just need to see that you did it, and that's it.
Okay.
That's gonna make part of our full report when we do turn in our final
Exactly.
report, right?
Yeah, so the pre-lab is already part of your final report. Any other questions?
So for next week, our quiz is gonna be partly on distillation and then the syllabus.
Yes. And I might throw in a question on melting point, boiling point, solubility. But mainly syllabus. Anyone else?
How do we turn in the lab reports?
So lab reports, once I get Canvas up and running, you're going to be turning them in through Canvas. If by some reason by next week Canvas is not working, you could just email them to me and just put subjects or go lab and then report. But Canvas should be working by then. So most likely we're going to be turning them into Canvas. Any other questions, comments, concerns? All right, well, if that's everything, I'm going to be ending the meeting now. I will send you the syllabus. I will send you the videos that you need to watch. And I will also send you this recording so you can go back and watch it on your own time. So remember, next class, come with the pre-lab, turn in the report, and be prepared for the quiz. Read the syllabus. All right, everyone?
Oh, just real quick, do you have a sample pre-lab by any chance to see how we should
Yeah,
have it
I'll
done?
send out to you probably by the end of today. I'm going to send out a sample lab report so you can see how to write them and like what's expected. And also, if you have the lab manual in the first few pages, it shows you. I'm not a big fan of that. I don't think it does a great job, but I will send out a sample. Anyone else have anything they want to ask?
Thank you.
No problem.
I just wanted to ask you, are you going to be posting the PowerPoints that you go over in class under modules or somewhere on Canvas?
I will not, but I will send you the recording so you could go back and look at it.
Okay, thank you so much. And if I would like to speak to you like on a different day, like to ask you questions, but the office hours I'm not able to attend, would I be able to email you or something to schedule something or work something out?
Yeah, email me and we could work something out.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. All right, anyone else? Okay, cool. So I'm gonna end the meeting now. I'm gonna send you syllabus, the videos. And if you want to sign up for the optional in-person labs, send me an email. Remember, this will not impact your grade at all. All right, everyone, so have a nice day. Don't work too hard.
Thank
Have a nice
you.
day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye.